Assalamu alaikum. Joining me today is Sonya Jehan, very talented actress, mother, and restaurateur. She's also my niece. She's joining us from Delhi today, and at the same time, Sikandar Rizvi, who's a brother, my nephew, will be joining us from Karachi. He is a very successful restaurateur, and at the same time, I think he has to be the most eligible bachelor in Pakistan. Welcome, Sonya and Sikandar. It's so lovely to see both of you. How are you doing?
Doing
All well.
good.
Good to see you, Tina Popo.
I don't think I've been to Karachi in the month of June for a very, very, very long time. I think June, July.
I don't think we ever have Sikandar. I don't remember being in Karachi. We used to always be in France at our Nani's house.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you because your life has been so eclectic. You've grown up in Karachi, you've spent every summer in France, and now you're living in Delhi. You know,
Yeah.
this whole moving around and in different places. Plus, you know, not only that, Akbar Bhai, your father, was a Muslim, your mother is Christian, Florence, and Vivek is Hindu. And how have you been able to reconcile all of this for yourself and also for the kids?
So, you know, I believe Vivek and I have very similar beliefs. We believe in God, and we believe, you know, what every religion teaches you to be good, to be kind, to be honest. And I think that's something that's we've been brought up, both of us have been brought up that way. And I think that's what we want our kids to be, you know, focused on, as opposed to a particular religion. And, you know, I think I'm blessed in a way that Sikandar and I both have been exposed to two different cultures and religions. And, you know, by moving to India and being married to an Indian whose family is Hindu, I think I consider myself blessed. I know a lot of people think it's you know, just haram what I've done. But it's a choice that I made, and I'm very comfortable with it. And I think the kids are very lucky to have that. I think they're growing up to be very loving individuals.
Yeah, no, it wasn't specifically about religion. Just the fact that you belong to an interracial family. How has that served you throughout your life?
I mean, it's been difficult. I remember in school in Karachi, when I was in school, you know, a lot of kids would be a little bit mean. There'd be a little bit of bullying, like, oh, your mom is Christian, and, you know, that's terrible, and she eats pork and she drinks. And, you know, it was just, sometimes as a child, it was difficult to, you know, just process that. But I think, you know, my mom, our mom, is an incredible woman, and I think she's been so strong, and she's been such a, you know, she's taught Sikandar and me that the main thing in life is really, and I know it sounds cliche, but it really is to be a good human being. It doesn't matter. You could be born a Muslim and not be a good Muslim, you know.
Siki, what about you? You had, you know, such luck with your restaurants. Do you think that being half French has actually helped you or hindered you being in Pakistan?
No, it's good. It's only helped me really instead of impeded me. It's always been nice to be having some to have foreign blood in you if you're doing business, especially with food. So it's been an asset, I'd say. Definitely been an asset. It hasn't hindered me in any way.
There are not many people who would come back. Like, I would constantly be asked when I came back from Australia that why have you come to Pakistan? You know, when anyone has the option of living abroad, you know, especially you as a young man, you studied in Switzerland and then you chose to come back to Pakistan to start your business.
I actually had a good job at Starwood Hotels in Amsterdam. And I was supposed to move to Chicago to work for the hotel industry there. But I had this 3-month break in between where I decided to come back and see mom. Mom had this thriving restaurant, Cafe Flow, and I was in the industry. So I went and I took the time to basically put things together. And I saw an opportunity there that there was nothing else except the top tier restaurants like Cafe Flow and the others, or the really like the fast food ones. So I thought I'll open up a business here to see how it goes. And also I think it did matter that when I came back, the fact that my mom was alone, it just made it like an obvious choice. Why would I go back when I can start a new business here and try it out? and be next to my mother. And if it all failed, then I'd go abroad. But at the end, everything worked out.
But Sikandar also went, he went to a really good school in Switzerland. So I think his background training, he's got full training. I mean, even I have a restaurant in Delhi, a private members club. But between the three of us, Sikandar is the one who has the formal training.
Sona, you worked in the Bombay film industry and you worked in the Karachi film industry. You've worked with Asim as well. And of course, that's a much bigger industry and that's got a lot more money involved. But in terms of relationships and people and how things actually work and work gets done, is it very different?
Pakistan's home to me. So, when I work in Pakistan, whether it's a commercial or a movie, and I haven't done many, it's ghar ki baat, like there's a comfort. Firstly, I'm staying at home and my family's there. So, but I think as far as the industry is concerned, yes, it is smaller, but they're very professional. And, from the makeup artists to the cinematographers, to the directors, to, anything to do with all the technical aspect is the same, if not better in some areas, And I mean, in India, every time I tell someone that I'm from Pakistan, because I say it very proudly, they all say, "Oh my God, humko, wo drama dekhne hain." They love Pakistani movies and Pakistani dramas, and they appreciate Pakistani music. They even come and tell me, your Coke studio in Pakistan is by far, like, it's just incredible compared to what we have in India. And it's true, Pakistanis have this, they're extremely talented and creative people.
When you did join the Bombay film industry, I mean, I'm talking about, you were very young. And I remember you made the decision to get married.
Yeah.
No, you're all young.
We're all young.
Yeah, but I remember you made the decision to get married before your film was even released. Now, I remember at that time, film actresses and all, there've always been double standards within our culture, where it was okay if the hero is married and has 10 kids, and that's all right. He's a man, he's acting. But as far as the women were concerned, they didn't want any married women to be on the screen, etc. They wanted all of them to make the decision to get married even before your first film was released.
I remember when I decided to get married to Vivek, and Akbar Khan, my director at the time, he was just aghast. He said, "You cannot get married right now. The movie is releasing in 6 months. Are you crazy? You're just, this is like, it's a career suicide," as far as he was concerned. But Tina Papa, for me, it was not a question of career. I was in a very happy place in my life, and I made a decision, and I really don't, because I wasn't really driven by becoming a famous movie star. I mean, I was lucky enough to have Dado as my grandmother, and I've seen
fame.
I've seen fame up close, and I've seen that it's a lot of hard work, dedication, and it doesn't necessarily, it's not all good. And I saw the struggles. I saw the struggles that, I mean, I was very young, obviously, but I mean, I'm sure Dado went through a lot of struggles. But personally, I saw how it affected my father to have this very famous mum. And it was difficult, and I'm sure it was difficult for all the children, including you. Yeah. So I think, I had made a decision that for me, my family was far more important. And I really wanted to find the right person and have a family. And if my career took off, it took off. And touch wood, after the film was released, I was lucky enough to do a few.
But you've always followed your heart, and I've always admired that about you. With a lot of passion, you've gone ahead and done the thing. I'm thinking, what about you?
My foolish heart sometimes. It's a foolish heart.
Vicky, how was your experience of having done a film here as well?
I think she was always more artistic one, the more prone to be the star, to go into the movies and the film business. I don't know how it happened. For me, it just happened. Like I decided one point to just start saying yes to everything that could happen, and this happened when Asad did an ad for Asad Haq, and he called me for a audition, and I don't know what it was for, and he wanted me to cast me for that role, and I was like, okay, I'll do it, and I thought it would be a lot of fun, it'd be a great exposure. So we went to Lahore for 45 days, and to be honest, I had a great time. I actually really enjoyed it.
So
But I remember when Sikandar called me and said, I've been offered to do a movie and everything. I think I was speechless. I was like, you?
I remember that.
I was like, what the hell? You're going to be like, you're going to act?
Sikandar was so shy and quiet growing up. He was a lot more serious and.
Was I shy?
So he was not serious. He was just a very awkward. He was a very awkward child. Not serious. He was just very awkward. He didn't know how to behave around people. He was a bit. No. I mean, he was. Yeah.
What attracts you most in a woman?
This will be an entire.
I want to know
that. Zoom call. I've thought about this a little bit, like having been in 1 or 2 or 3 relationships, that I think what really matters at the end of the day, what I would like is someone who is empathetic, really, who understands, we understand each other. So someone who's actually a friend and someone who's actually empathetic.
Now I wanted to ask both of you, you mentioned your father, who's my brother, and you mentioned Dado, who's my mother, and her being this famous has affected me in different ways. But how has it been for you guys, being her grandchildren and being Akbar Bhai's children? How has it helped and how has it pulled you back at times? Or what big lesson have you learned from both these people's lives?
Dado is Dado, right? She's not Madam Noor Jahan. I've seen Dado in close quarters where she's not in front of the camera. She's always been this incredible human being. So I remember living in Lahore, and her coming back from the studio, she was not madam anymore. She was just Dado. She'd be sitting in her room and she'd order chai, and I remember the Kashmiri chai we used to. Homa Papu used to make these big, things of Kashmiri chai, and Dado used to take Pond's cream and remove all her makeup coming back from the studio. And tissue paper used to be just coming out. So for me, she was just a normal person, but I have to admit that it's helped me in a lot of ways. It's helped me in even getting a platform to get into acting and to do commercials. There was no way I would have come to India to do a movie if it wasn't for Dado. And I remember when I was auditioning and I got the role, Akbar Khan said to me, we have to change your name. And I said, what do you mean? Because I'm Sonya Rizvi. I'm Dada is Shaukat Hussain Rizvi. So I was Akbar Rizvi's daughter, Sonya Rizvi. And he says, no, so we'll call you. And he came up with these names like Dia. And I said, no, I'm not calling my Dia. And, like stage name. And then eventually he's saying, why don't we just keep it Sonya Jehan? And I said, if anything, that's the closest I can get to changing my name, because I'm not, that was for him, it was a marketing thing. For me, it was giving me a chance to get into, so definitely being Noor Jahan's granddaughter has helped me in many ways. I think the only negative, and I can't say negative, is that I didn't get to spend as much time as I would have liked to with her, because she was so busy and she was always surrounded by people. So I didn't have the same relationship that I had like with my nani, for instance,
Yeah, that's true.
Where we would cook together, or she taught me how to do stitch and all that stuff, the grandmotherly things. So there's good and bad. We'll always be compared. Physically, we'll be compared, how beautiful she was, and oh yeah, you have her eyes, or you don't have her mouth, or there's always something. She was very graceful, and I don't think I have that grace. But I'm also very, don't laugh, Sikandar. But I'm also a very self-critical person, and that's why I don't think I've ever really pushed myself to make it in the film, because I just don't see myself to be good enough.
And it's tough. I'll stop you here. I was interviewing Asim Raza, And one of the questions was, who do you think is the most underrated actor in Pakistan? And guess what he said? He said Sonya Jehan.
Really?
She is so talented. Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah, she downplays us. She definitely downplays us, for sure.
Yeah. He said she's one of the most talented actresses I know. And if she only took it seriously, and I think she's one of the most underrated actors in Pakistan.
But for me, you know, I have the luxury like Sonya did to spend as much time with Dado, you know, because she was in Lahore. I don't have memories from when I was living in Lahore like Sonya did. My earliest memories go back to when we moved to Karachi, and by then we were already living in separate homes. She was Dado for me. I used to go see her with my father, you know, and I remember Eid, which was a lot of fun all the time. It was very entertaining. You know, family gatherings, dinners, but you know, I never really saw her in as Noor Jahan or in the prime of her life before. Like I did spend more time with my maternal grandmother, my mom. So it wasn't the same experience that I had, but she was a grandmother.
I wanted to ask both of you, really at heart, do you feel more Pakistani or more French?
Pakistan.
100%.
without a thought, both of you responded.
I mean, of course, I've lived here all my life. You know. No, I'm definitely consider myself more Pakistani.
You know, I'm asking these questions also.
I feel definitely more Pakistani, and the reason is because if I go to a market in France, or I go to a bazaar in Karachi, I feel like I'm with my people when I'm in a bazaar in Karachi, whereas in France, sometimes I'll even play the tourist. I'll talk like I'm not from France. Because I'm just like, I don't want to handle these people.
Being in Pakistan and being half Pakistani, do you think you've also suffered any racism towards you?
No, not at all.
Tough, but I don't think so.
The opposite. I feel like they'll be like, oh wow, you know, you're the French side, you got a French family to go to. So it's more the opposite. I never felt any form of racism.
Actually, I think it depends mostly on color. If you have a darker skin color, maybe they're a little meaner. But if you're a little whiter, then they sort of look up to you.
But it's so true. But it's true, Tinapopo. They actually, I think, because of being French and being a little, you know, being fair-skinned, you know, people who don't know me and, you know, don't know my background, or they always look at you like, oh, you know, they'll always give you a little bit more of that extra, you know, yeah, it's just, but this is something that I face even here in India.
Which city has your heart? Karachi or Delhi?
Saying that more and more frequently whenever you come to Karachi the last 3 years, that you could imagine yourself living here, that you could imagine you like the pace, you know, you said that, you have said that, but
well, you never know. After this lockdown is over, I might just land up in Karachi, because if our business packs up, and not just me, the kids, Vivek, we're all coming and moving into your apartment.
Yeah, what city has your heart, Siki? What is your favorite city in the world?
And you know, over the years, I realized that I've got everything I need here. So this is home. So this is first and foremost the first place for me. But I have that bit of Europe inside of me. So like I crave going back to France.
And both of you went to the Everest Base Camp.
Yeah.
Yes.
What inspired that? And
I got there before Sikandar.
What? I was sick. I couldn't do it. I had altitude sickness in the end, I think. But Sonya is very strong, by the way.
No, it was an amazing experience. This friend of mine who does these expeditions had asked me, would you be interested? And I told Sikandar, I said, you know, we've never done a brother-sister holiday. You know, there's always been mom or someone around us. Why don't you come? And it was in October, and his birthday is on October 7th. And on that day, we had reached base camp. Poor boy, he was a bit sick, but we managed to get a cake, which was
What are you talking about? I was
when we had to cut the cake, it was like a brick.
It was a rock.
because
Now, one best piece of advice that you've ever received.
Huh?
don't give a shit what people say, just do it.
I think don't waste time, really. Like you won't get it back.
Now, one piece of criticism that you think is valid about yourself.
I think I need to love myself a bit more. I need to stop being self-critical all the time. I think I just drive myself a bit insane by saying I should have, I could have, da, da, da. So I tend to be a little bit harsh with myself. But I mean, it's okay. I'm dealing with those. I'm
Last
dealing
too
with
long.
those voices in the back.
I think I become an ostrich when I've got certain things to deal with. Instead of just dealing with it, I just don't want to know about it, and I become an ostrich.
He puts his head
Put my
inside.
head in the ground, and I just say it exists. So I try to run away from it. That's a problem.
And what about this quarantine? Do you think we've learned something from this? Do you think we'll come into a different world, or do you think we're all just going to go back to our same old?
No, I think it's been actually, I think there's a silver lining to all this. I think definitely I and everyone around me, I think we've really learned that it's okay to take things slowly. It's okay. You don't need to rush and do things all the time. It's more important to value your relationships and spend time with, I'm spending time, my mom, I always used to spend time, but now it's a lot more. I'd wake up in the morning and have breakfast with her, which I never used to. And these small things, right? I never used to do. And I think they should continue, and they will continue.
I think that for the present moment, yes, we are in a situation where we are spending time with our loved ones and family, and but I think unfortunately, when things do get back to some form of norm, I think we will go back to the same. I think it's tough. I think very few people will actually take this and change permanently. I think it's definitely going to be part of it. This is history. What we're living, what we're going through is insane. I think I was telling Vivek yesterday. I said, there's this lack of trust now, which I'm sensing. Amongst people, you meet people and you're like, you do sense the anxiety that people have, and I hope that trust factor doesn't. We don't start as a society not trusting each other.